Alright fellas, here we're back on Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be looking at Fall, Phoebe, and Cofagrigus, and seeing should you summon for them. And I know I say Cofagrigus, I don't know why I say Cof. But anyway, they're going to be releasing tomorrow alongside the story event, The Haunted Museum, and then we're going to get Fall Roxanne 2 days later. So, should you go for the Sync Pair? I'll sum up her abilities for the most part to say that she is a Ghost Support Sync Pair that is very defensive, but mostly lacking in the gauge support as well as offensive area. Okay, well, she can buff offenses, but mostly defensive while having a big issue in not doing gauge support, which is a bad thing. I will just say that is outright a bad thing. So basically, yeah, I would say don't go for her because defensive supports aren't really something we're in too high demand of anymore, or right now specifically. If you want a defensive support, quote-unquote support, I guess, we got BP Olivia here, who is able to buff her allies' defenses, apply regeneration, have protect, as well as have Starter Stuff 2 and Brain Bond 2 and healing abilities, and endurance. So if you want a character that can buff defenses, you've got a free option here. And if you want an even better free option, you've got BP Morty here, who does the same thing in buffing defenses, as well as also having potions, flinches, confusion, and I think that's mostly the gist, right? He's got very good healing, he's got flinches, confusion, and defense buffs. So if you wanted to buff her, there you go. Also, he's a ghost type, so might as well just be the same thing. So, yeah. Basically, if you want a defensive support, I would say just don't go for her. BP Morty and BP Olivia are both very, very strong. I personally love BP Morty. Probably one of my favorite of the BP units, just in terms of kit, I guess. But overall, let's go ahead and look at Let's go ahead and look at Phoebe and Cofagrigus' gift, grid kit, whatever. I can't speak today. It's 8:22 in the morning. I woke up like half an hour ago. Anyway, so, again, as mentioned, she is a Ghost Support Sync Pair with the EX roll of Tech, which is outright useless, bar the stats. The only useful part is the stats, but even then I would say it's not that useful because the extra HP and defense don't matter. So, just wouldn't give it to her. There's a ton of other Tech EX roll characters that benefit far, far more from having the Tech EX roll. Okay, that's filtered by Ghost type, right? So I would literally just go for anyone else. Red, better. Palmer, better. Archer, he's better, but probably wouldn't do him. Just Palmer or Red is your better options. Anyway, looking at her abilities here, she has 612 HP, 289 in both defense, well, 289 defense, 280 special defense, basically the same in the defenses though, really. 205 special attack, 234 attack, and 225 speed. Very rounded stats. Bad speed stat, good defenses, about average, offenses, I would say, for a support character, though she does seem to be having the same type of thing as regular Phoebe, to where she's got some good, offensive abilities, sort of, for a support character. Obviously, they've got the same attack stat here, essentially, as well as, obviously, normal Phoebe here having Shadow Punch, so, I mean, they got some okay offensive stats, I guess, for supports, but you're not going to use them as your damage dealers, right? So anyway, yeah. And of course, her stats can go up with the, level 150, the EX roll, whatever. Obviously, her big thing is her HP and defenses, which her HP is a little bit low, but her defenses are pretty good, so that's no problem. Looking at her abilities here, she has Shadow Claw, which is a 2-gauge move, kind of a spammable whatever. 40 base power, it's not going to be really doing anything, so yeah. She's got potions, of course, for some good healing, both for herself and allies. That's very, very nice for a lot of longer battles, as well as just stadium battles, I guess, if you do have nothing else to do with her. She also has her trainer move here, which applies the stat reduction defense effect to the ally field of play, and raises the defenses of all allies by 4. So there you go, you're able to buff your defenses from 0 to 4 in an instant. Pretty good for characters with, Towering Force, Tough Cookie, what is it, Wise Cookie? No, it may be. Actually, I don't know. I don't remember. Is it? I don't remember what the fucking ability is. Smart Cookie, not Wise Cookie. Close enough. Smart Cookie. And whatever the special defense nuke alternative is. It's good for that, but obviously, How many characters have those type of abilities? I mean, quite a few characters have Tough Cookie, realistically, but that's Team Tough Luck. How many characters have Tough Cookie? If I can type. Tough Cookie, let's see. A decent few characters, but most of these characters are already able to buff their defenses or have a great partner that can buff their defenses realistically. Like Special Costume Diantha, she already buffs her defenses. Special Costume Ingo, he buffs his defenses. Liza buffs her defenses. Hilda buffs her defenses. Not Hilda. Diantha buffs her defenses, and Hilda has the best partner in Diantha to buff her defenses. Aura Cynthia is renowned for buffing her defenses. Not that she wants to use Tough Cookie, but still. So, I mean, not bad, of course, but still. Being +4 in one turn, that's not bad. But it does only have 1 MP, so you can only use it once, which is quite annoying, to say the least. So you do got to be careful of that. And she's also got Phantom Force just for, you know, the generic stuff you do with a ghost type to where, you know, haha, you can't hit me and I do damage to you, except she's a support, so she's not going to be doing damage. But this is going to be mostly useful for things like a Legendary Gauntlet, where, like, the enemy may have a very strong move, such as a Giga Impact or a Hyper Beam, whatever, and you don't want to just take the brunt of it. You can just evade it with Phantom Force, which is not a bad idea, right? But overall, that's her moves and whatnot. Looking at her passives, she's got Take Hit, Ignore Attack Up, and Special Attack Up. Except in certain circumstances, ignores the opponent's raised and attack and special attack when the user is hit by an attack move. So if the enemy has raised offensive stats, they will not be factoring in the damage from those in doing damage to her, meaning it'll be the same as them hitting her with neutral attack, so no buffs at all. I don't think this will apply to things that require offensive buffs, like Furious Brain or Furious Brawn, so any multiplier damage probably will still go through and hit her, but obviously that's not confirmed or anything, it's just a likelihood, so maybe she's better than we're giving her credit for, but still, this ability overall not too bad, though. If the enemies do buff their stats, there you go, you can kind of handle it, especially in like a Legendary Gauntlet or something where they do buff their stats a decent bit, so you can handle that for the most part. And not require debuffing support or something, or a debuffing character in order to take out the offensive buffs. She's also got hit, team attack ups, and special attack up 9, raising the attack and special attack of all allies by 1 when her attack move is successful. That's not bad, for sure. I'm just going to make sure that ability is correct. Yeah, okay. So, whenever she hits the enemy, she raises allies' offensive stats, which is very, very nice. Not buffing crit, but still, that's just a good ability as is. So you can buff your offenses and be pretty diverse as a support character, right? You can work with a pretty good amount of characters that can, want these offensive buffs. They can already buff their crit, as well as, of course, apply defensive utility as well, which is nice. And she's got Vigilance, which protects her from crits, so you can probably give her something like Defense Crush, Mind Games 2, Adrenaline 1, Head Start 1, whatever, as a lucky skill. So you got some pretty good variable options for lucky skills, right? Maybe Healthy Healing, whatever you want to do. So it's not too bad, right? It's not too bad. Overall, as the base kit, though, I would say this isn't overly impressive, because the defenses to +4 in a single turn is cool. And let's also fact check. Yeah, she doesn't have NPR on the grid. She cannot do any more buffing than this with her defenses, just +4 and that's it. You would preferably want +6, obviously. Phantom Force is already a pretty niche move. The dodge is nice, but obviously you can look at most relevant supports and most characters can either take the attack or just heal from it, which Phoebe can also do, meaning this evasion isn't really the most useful thing. It's fine, of course, but still. Shadow Claw is a 2-gauge spammable, working off of a character with absolutely no speed buffs or any good speed stat to begin with. So this is already kind of iffy, because you're going to be using Gauge with Shadow Claw, and it's not going to be that great. And if not, you're using Gauge with Phantom Force, or you're using Phantom Force for the move MP and whatnot, for not having to use Gauge. And then that's going to screw your sync count down if you're in a stadium battle, or it's just going to waste your Phantom Forces in a Legendary Gauntlet, right? Because you still do need speed buffs, because she's not very fast. You're going to need them for your team, or at least a consistent form of Gauge Acceleration or just move Gauge Charging. Other than that, she's got very slow offensive buffs, which is good for the Gauntlet, but honestly a lot of modern day supports are going to be good in both the Gauntlet and in the Stadium, right? I would say she's definitely more catered towards the Gauntlet specifically than the Stadium, just in general, especially with her having this ability, honestly. So yeah, like if we look at most supports here that are at least premium, right? Argent is very, very good in both areas, right? You got, can't think, Proton. You got Proton, who's good in both areas, especially with his flinches. You got Blue and Zapdos, who's one of the best supports in the game. You know, just looking at the premium supports, a lot of them are already really good in both areas. Phoebe, only really good in one. I would just save my gems and go for a support that's, you know, good in all areas. And if we just look at her value as a sheer support character, she just applies defense buffs and attack buffs and heals. That's it. Which, of course, is good. But most supports are able to apply speed buffs, crit buffs, offensive buffs faster, special moves next, physical moves next, a terrain, something like that. Like Blue here, he applies obviously special attack buffs, speed buffs, crit buffs, special moves next. He's able to apply electric rebuff. He's got healing for himself and allies very, very consistently. If we look at Signasu Acerola, another great support, she's able to apply 2 field effects in sun and grassy terrain, physical moves next, attack buffs, crit buffs in single turn, special buffs, or speed buffs rather, defense buffs. A lot of stuff, right? Phoebe has another premium support, not really providing too much of that. But let's go ahead and look at her grid, see what else she has in store for us. So overall, I would just say don't go for Phoebe, especially at 1 out of 5. Not really worth it. Though, of course, she can definitely work, right? As stated, she's going to be solid in the gauntlet, but she does need some, like, gauge help for the most part. Anyway, looking at her 1 out of 5 here, she's got pretty much nothing. 2 out of 5, she gets Unflappable, Trainer Move, NPR, so she can get defensive buffs, but of course, that's only a 20% chance, or 30% chance to activate, so you do have to rely on that. She's got Ridicure 4 and... Why did it... okay. She got Ridicure 4 and Fail Forward. Both of these require, requiring a miss on the enemy. So 50% chance to restore her HP by 20% when an enemy's move misses her, and obviously restore engage by 1 when an enemy's move misses her again. So you're only going to be relying on Phantom Force because she doesn't apply any evasion buffs. So you're just relying on that. And this is her only form of gauge support, by the way. No gauge acceleration, no speed buffs, nothing. This is her only form of gauge support, and it's not consistent, nor is it really that good. She's got Restore, Quick Move, MP, whatever. Restores 1 MP for users and move when they're in a pinch. So, her Quick Moves, rather. So you can restore a Phantom Force MP when you get to low HP, which is not bad for sure. And then Master Healer on potions and whatnot, and Gauge Refresh on Shadow Claw. Overall, not an impressive 2 out of 5, really. The Move NPR, Master Healer stuff may be the best stuff you can get here. But overall, it's still not worth the candy. And 3 out of 5, Adrenaline 1, very good ability. Status Immunity is very nice. Staggering 3 for a 40% flinch chance is very, very good as well. Group Gloat, raising allies' offenses whenever an enemy misses her. So again, you're relying on that Phantom Force, which does suck, but hey, there it is. Quick Cure, restore, restoring her from status conditions or status changes, confusion, flinch, trap, whatever. Very, very nice. More potion stuff, of course. Endurance, very, very nice as well. And Team Sharp Entry 1 for +1 crit. Still, though, overall, with all these buffs, I would say that they're definitely missing a fundamental thing that she needs. I could have gone without the Team Sharp Entry. I could have gone without the Group Gloat, whatever. If you were to just give her Pep Rally or Team Fast Track, just give her Team Fast Track 9, and then I would honestly not have a problem with this character's kit. Because if they gave her Team Fast Track 9, she would be able to help out the speed problem, as well as buff both offenses simultaneously as buffing the offenses. But sadly, she does not have that ability to buff speed in, her ability, or her grid, whatever, just her whole kit. And, unfortunately, I would say that is a massive, unfathomably bad thing. Really, like, for a support character, you want them to be able to apply support things. Not being able to buff speed or gauge in general is fine if your speed stat wasn't abysmally low. If you were like a Ninjask type fast, you could probably get away with it. But Cofagrigus, very, very slow. Just this character in general is very, very slow, so you're screwed there. Now, obviously, another support character like Morty, since I obviously used the example of him before, obviously he doesn't buff speed either, and he also has 224 speed. Difference being, he uses a 1 gauge move instead of using a 2 gauge move, as well as being able to apply these buffs here, not use too much gauge, but really, it's the Astonish here. I get pretty lucky with these Astonish move gauge refreshes. I'm not going to get too lucky with a Shadow Claw move gauge refresh unless I want to, or unless the game wants me to, and then I still have to use 2 gauges. Kind of iffy. Kind of very iffy, rather, I would say, right? It limits your team compositions. Like, realistically speaking, it just really limits your team compositions and what you can run, because you want to have to run her with allies who are either very fast or very non-gauge consumative or buffing speed themselves. So characters like Signasuit and May, who are able to do a lot of good gauge/speed buffing, those work very, very well, or just any other character in general who can buff speed. Those type of characters could work well with Phoebe, but you do got to consider Phoebe is also a very defensive support with very few or very slow offensive buffing abilities, meaning that she's just going to be good for the most part in taking an attack and, just taking an attack for the most part. That's really what her job is. Of course, potentially being able to dish out flinches with Staggering 4, or, again, buff offenses slowly with this ability here. That's not bad either, but you do gotta consider her main role is to take a hit, which a lot of supports, especially free ones, actually, are already quite good at, right? Like, if you want to look at a lot of free supports, that's what they're pretty much catered to, is taking an attack. Like, Registeel here. Physically buffs its own defenses. It doesn't buff allies, but it buffs its own. This is a free character. 2 types of potions, as well as having the speed buffs. He's got speed buffs. That's funny. But really, buffs defenses here, as well as potions. That's Registeel's job, right? We want to look again at Olivia. Extra Gen Ult, no introduction needed. Buffing defenses, gradual healing, as well as having First Aid 4 and, hit-taking abilities here. You don't need a support that can just take a lot of attacks or potentially dodge attacks with Phantom Force. If you do want a support that can dodge attacks with Phantom Force, we've got Lodge Acerola, who actually has Phantom Force as well, and a support character. So there you go. If you want that, go for it. Anyway, overall, I would say don't go for Phoebe and Cofagrigus. They have a very nice outfit, and I will be doing daily discounts for them. I don't think that they are an outright bad sync pair. I just think that their abilities and niches are already covered by other characters, meaning that their value as an individual sync pair is not really that valuable. Of course, if Phoebe is your favorite character or Cofagrigus is one of your favorite Pokemon, go for them. Of course, you're probably going to get some good use out of them, especially in like a Legendary Arena or a Legendary Gauntlet. But for the general player base, you can live just fine with a character like Olivia and Carbink, BP and Morty, or Lodge Acerola, and they can fit similar builds to what Phoebe here is able to provide. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to end the video there, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you're going to be summoning for Phoebe and Cofagrigus down in the comments below, and I will see you all later.